Yeah. We'll go live in about 5 minutes. God. So when is Bernie's farewell? Done. Can't hear you. Try. No. Have you? You're able to hear me? Why is this so, Rakesh? But I can see your mic on here. I can see your mic. Just disconnect audio once and then join back. Click on the mic once. Yeah, I think now I can hear you, Neerja.
Okay.
Can't see you.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You can hear me now?
Hear you and see you both, yes.
Okay.
Hi,
Welcome
Srikanth
back.
and Indra. Can you hear
Hi,
me?
sir. Yeah, we can hear you.
Loud and clear, yes. I can see you as well as that. Let me see if I can take a screenshot and post it there itself. No, I think I can't paste it in chat, no?
You can't, I think. So this is a mirror image of us. So if I want to do something here, I have to do here.
Yes.
It's confusing.
Yeah, but that might be something that is your setup because you can see task. Correct.
I can see it properly, correct.
Correct.
I don't know why this thing.
No, but yeah, you're right. It's on my left side, this badge over here. You're seeing it on my right side, so that there, yes. Rakesh, we can put the first slide. Yeah, perfect. So we start exactly at 3:05, so 2 more minutes.
Okay.
Can we start, Rakesh?
Yes, sir.
Recording as well as YouTube and Facebook, etc.
Yes, sir.
on?
Everything is on.
All right. Okay.
We can start.
A very good afternoon to everyone who is there on this webinar today, especially all the principals, all the management of various colleges, the faculty members, the TPOs, and dear students. A very good afternoon to all of you, and it's indeed a pleasure to be present amongst all of you again today, virtually as part of the HICIA task WINTalk. WIN being the acronym which says what industries need. So essentially, in these talks, we try to demystify various technologies, emerging areas where all of you can get good jobs and create careers. Today, we have decided to talk about DevOps. But before I move on to the program itself, I'll request our partners, HICIA and Nirja, the representative of HICIA. Over to you, Nirja.
Thank you, Shrikant. I know we've talked about HICIA quite a bit in this program, but still, for those who have joined us for the first time, very happy to share that HICIA is a 30-year-old IT and ITES industry association. And we are happy to co-host this WINTalk series along with Task as part of our Industry Academia Forum initiative, which aims to create a link between the academic talent and what the industry needs. And I hope today's session on DevOps helps you understand the opportunities in this area. And in case you want to build a career in this area, I hope you understand all the opportunities that are available to you. So we are very, very happy to host this, co-host this session along with Task. Thank you, Shrikant, and over to you.
Thank you, Nirja. Just for the benefit of others who don't know about Task, Task was set up as an initiative by the government of Telangana to enhance the employability of the youth of Telangana so that they can get better employment opportunities. And today we have about 718 colleges, about 3 lakh students are registered with Task. And over the years, we have skilled about 3,50,000 plus students, 14,339 faculty members, and so on and so forth. Happy to invite you to have a look at our task.telangana.gov.in website to get more information. So let me start with the people who are going to be there on the call today with us, the experts itself. And I'm extremely delighted today that we have got some very, very eminent persons who have been leading this industry itself and are leading lights of this industry of DevOps to become part of this session. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Satyan Sharma, who is the technology leader of State Street. He's been with State Street since 2019. He has been working on the platform. He's been working on the post-trade processing, the regulatory and client reporting, DevOps, cloud native FX trading platform, post-trade processing, and again, cloud native, etc. Prior to this, he was the technology lead at BA Continuum, which is basically the Bank of America enterprise for practically 3 years based out of Haryana, Gurgaon. And there he was the India delivery lead for solutions delivery management, the transformation program, as well as he was accountable for end-to-end delivery of the STM capabilities housed out of India itself. Prior to this, he was with TCS for over 11 years. So as you can make out, he's got tremendous experience in the industry itself. And another thing which I'd like to share with you, of course, is that he did his computer engineering in 1998 from National Institute of Technology, Surat, where he was a first-class distinction, as well as he's an ethical hacker. He's a certified ethical hacker also. So welcome to the program, Satyan. The other person who would be joining us later, because she's right now exhibiting what truly DevOps can do, and she is right now at Bangalore Airport on her way checking back to travel back to Hyderabad is Ms. Rajita Singh, who is the HR head for Broadridge. She represents the changing face of Indian ITS industry, where human resource professionals are increasing, becoming strategic partner to core functions. I think this is something which is very, very important, and that's where I think Indian IT industry is different from the other IT industry, because HR is actually becoming a strategic partner. She's a management graduate by education and has been in the IT industry for over 2 decades plus, 22 years. And currently she is handling, as I said, the human resources at Broadridge Financial Solutions India Private Limited. She started her career as a recruiter, rose to the top and led recruitment of ADP Private Limited, Hyderabad, before moving as the head HR for Broadridge. She has spearheaded many progressive and diversified roles across the HR function and has won many youngest first to her credit. Welcome, Rajita. Good to have you with us. And of course, talking about her hobbies, I was really, really impressed, because one of her hobbies is car racing, classical dancing, swimming, yoga, and spirituality. So as you can make out, Rajita is a professional in means, way it her professional or her personal thing. So without any further ado, let me dive straight into the program itself. I'll just like to once again mention over here that apart from the Okta platform on which this is being telecast right now, it's also being telecasted on the Task and Hysia Facebook as well as YouTube channels, plus tsat is also bringing to all the homes in Telangana. Talking about DevOps, typically when we talk about the technologies, etc., DevOps is never about, and that's where we said, let's look at demystifying it. The reason why we consider DevOps as one of the areas is, if you look at the global market size, it was valued at about $6.78 billion in 2020 itself. And it is projected to reach $57.9 billion by 2030. So you can make out that it has got a staggering compound average growth rate of about 24.2%. And especially if you look at the Asia Pacific region, the growth is upwards of 26.5% itself, which is talking about what all it can do. And that's where we thought that day and help our students understand as to what DevOps is and what are the various opportunities in it. So do keep on typing your questions, dear students, faculty members, TPOs, etc. At the end of the session, we will definitely take up your questions. So Satyam, without any further ado, let me start with you first. What is DevOps? How is it different from development or operations? And what are the various flavors of DevOps? Since this technical landscape is always changing, so what's happening over here? If you could help us understand that, it'll be wonderful.
Absolutely. Sure. First of all, thanks to Task and Hysia for giving me this opportunity. And I'm really thrilled that, there are like 3 lakh plus students are, connected with this platform. This is like mind-boggling number, honestly speaking. And so fantastic. Thank you, Srikanth, for setting up this kind of a platform. Yeah. When we were studying, there was no such platform. So I really know the value of this thing. So hats off. Okay. So with DevOps, I think generally when we talk about anything related to IT, people think that it's a technology, right? It's some kind of a tool, some kind of a language, some kind of a code. But DevOps is not a technology, it's not a tool, or it's not a software. Basically, what is DevOps? So DevOps is a kind of a framework or a culture within an organization, within an IT organization, where with through collaboration, 2 types of team coming together and giving the excellent experience to all the stakeholders, right? So if I just summarize in that way. So in any IT delivery, there are mainly 2 teams who works. One is development team who build the softwares, There is another team which is called the operation team, who basically takes that software, move it into the various systems, and then ultimately take it to the end user. Right? That we generally call the operation team. Just you can consider a factory model. So the DevOps is basically a framework and a culture which is bringing these two teams together, so that from the cultural point of view, we have a better collaboration, proper communication, very high integration, proper visibility between the team, between all the stakeholders, and the transparency. So how it is helping the development team? So development, it allows the development team to deliver the softwares in faster way, with highest quality, with low risk, right? Shift left the testing, early testing, this kind of the benefits. And on the operation side, it is allowing the operation team, or this framework is allowing the operations team to faster release the software to the end user. In short, releasing the value to the customer in faster way. And on maintenance perspective, uh, the performance, the availability, the scalability of any software system is very well maintained. So at high level, if I have to summarize, DevOps is a framework and a culture. Now, your next question is that how it is different than the legacy infrastructure, right? So for that, maybe we can move to the next slide, which talks about exactly this point, Shrikant, that why DevOps, right? Why there is a need of DevOps. So over the period of times, right, in the initial days, there was only one kind of a methodology to deliver the software to the business. Okay, it was the waterfall model. What does it mean is that I always keep the big picture in mind. If I have to build let's say, a banking system, so I will always keep that larger banking system in my mind and do the requirement analysis of that larger system, do the design of that larger system, do the development of that larger system, and do the coding testing for that larger system. So those days, this kind of a software development project used to run in years. Okay, and what used to happen that the end user who has actually had to use that software system generally don't get the visibility into the system for few months. And after few months, when then people see, oh no, this is not what I wanted. Actually, I wanted something else, and you built something else, right? So that kind of requirement gaps and other things were creeping up slowly. So I think we need. So what happened that in the software development methodology side, there is a disruption happen, and we went into the agile software development methodology. In that, we break the larger problem into the smaller problems. Okay, and then we solve that smaller problem such that that smaller problem can be delivered to the end user is a minimum viable product, right? So that the end user realize the value of their systems way early in the life cycle. If there are any gaps, that can be realized way early. If there are any issues, that can be found out way early, right? Now, if you look at the middle picture here, the agile, the yellow boxes are indicating those incremental deliverables. And then below that, you have the spiral, and those spirals are actually indicating the entire software development life cycle continuously going through for each iteration, right? So we needed a nice mechanism to support this agile development process, where I am every few weeks I am delivering systems into the production, right? And when, what does it mean? Like, I am doing the requirement analysis, doing the coding, doing the testing, doing uh, the deployment into the various test environments, and ultimately delivering the same code into the production every few weeks, right? So we need a well-oiled machine to do that, right? So to support this agile development process end to end, the DevOps framework, evolved over the period of time. So basically, what we are looking from DevOps is that, taking the software, do as much automation as possible, take the and we will see that in the subsequent slide that how that entire DevOps work. Now, what is the benefit what we are leveraging out of this entire DevOps process? As I mentioned that early visibility to the stakeholders, finding out the issues too early, shift left the processes, reducing the risk into the system, the risk of the requirement not matching, the risk of any dependencies are not available, things like that, right? So these are the various benefits, and because of that, the DevOps is so popular nowadays, and then it becomes kind of a mainstream in software delivery.
Understood. Would you like us to move to the next slide now?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yes, so this slide is basically so we looked at what is DevOps, why DevOps, and then this slide is very high level. The purpose of this presentation is to just create some curiosity. So this slide is talking about how to DevOps, right? So you might have heard the terms CI and CD. So there are 7 DevOps practices: continuous development, right? Continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous testing, continuous deployment, continuous monitoring, and then infrastructure as a code. So this entire DevOps ecosystem work around those practices. So what do we mean by continuous development, right? As I mentioned that we are doing releasing the software into the production every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, like smaller chunks. So developers and the testers are always busy. They don't have time to look into some other things. They don't want to get into the issues or the deployment and all this, right? So they are always busy in developing the code, and that is their work. Similarly, continuous integration means that in the larger enterprise, what happened that it's not just one team who works, right? There are like thousands of people work to solve one bigger problem, and there are like smaller teams, and the it's work like a funnel that the work of each team just get integrated and then delivered as one value to the customer, right? So that is called the continuous integration. How can we integrate the work item from each various teams in a one singular fashion, and that is called the continuous integration. How we take that work item to the production, that is called the continuous deployment. And once it is deployed, am I providing the service in right way? All my SLAs are met, service level agreements are met. Is customer getting the right experience out of my product, right? Is the right performance customer getting? Is the service available all the time? When is the service is down? Things like that is called the continuous monitoring. So the focus is that not to fix the issue. The focus is on that how can we improve the things, right? So to that we should have the proactive monitoring, right? And the lastly, due to the cloud uh, ecosystem, we got we can build any machine on demand. Okay, it's not like earlier system where I had to order a physical box, and then that physical box takes like 1 month to deliver, and then if I have to change the memory specification or any specification, it takes another time. Now on a click of a button, you can get the box whatever you want, right, on the cloud. So how can we integrate all these available cloud capabilities into my software delivery and then enrich the customer experience, right? So on the left hand side, you see that these are various tools available in the market which are enabling this entire DevOps ecosystem, right? So for example, Jenkins is your orchestration which does the CI. Then there are cloud-based system who does the CD. Then for the test automation, we have a Selenium, JMeter. For source code management, GitHub, this kind of systems are there. For collaboration, we have a Jira, right? And for continuous delivery, we have Docker, Kubernetes, Puppet, Chef, Electric Cloud, this kind of various systems. These tools are available, right? So this entire tool chain creates this DevOps experience.
Interesting. Can we move to the next slide? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So this slide is giving a very high level workflow, just very simple workflow, just to give all our folks an idea that when we say that DevOps automation, what does it mean, right? So in this workflow, the developer one and two, right? The point number one and two, developers has check in some code. Now, as soon as developer check in the code, when I say check in, it means commit one code into the repository like GitHub. Probably everyone knows about GitHub right now
Yes.
nowadays. So as soon as the code get into that, how that code automatically get to the production system without any manual intervention, right? So that is the beauty of DevOps, right? Now it doesn't happen just like that. As I mentioned, there are like thousands of various tools available, so we have to integrate those tools together. We need to understand that what we want to do at each stage. When I build that software, how do I automate, enable the automate testing of that software, how I deploy that software into the test environments, how I run the automated testing on those test environments. When test pass, what should I do? When test failed, what should I do, right? How can I automate those decision making? How can I certify that code into the production and just make sure that things are running fine in the system, right? So this is the sample workflow depicting the same thing in various stages.
Wonderful. Rajita, are you there?
Yes, yes, I am Shrika.
Okay, Rajita, then probably I'll move to you with the next question, which is, and probably it's being shown over here, but would like to understand what would be the skills in demand, for a person who would like to mold their career into the DevOps stream. Rajita? Yeah.
I think it's great. Obviously, Satyen's yeah.
Your
Me.
voice seems to
So
be
I think
breaking.
I will come together and you try and play something. From a DevOps.
Rajita, I think we've lost you. Rajita, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Yes. So what I was saying is that since Satyan's already mentioned that it's about a mindset change when it comes to DevOps, I think it's multiple roles that make it available from an integration standpoint, from a quality check standpoint, from a support standpoint, and for that matter, architecting and things like that. So if you ask me, it essentially covers the entire SDLC, front to back from that standpoint. So there's a lot of exposure on what people could do on DevOps, but because DevOps is more that is more about a high level which gives you exposure to everything end to end. And I know you're going to talk about SRE, but I still want to say it in case my network goes in. SRE essentially is a subset of that, which is primarily about metrics, about how do you zero in and how do you quantify what you have done. So that at a high level, very simply put, is what DevOps is.
Right. And if you could also mention about, the roles that are there. For example, like we have been hearing about DevOps engineer, DevOps developer, DevOps architect, you just mentioned, DevOps integrator, and DevOps manager. So what could be the qualifications and the skills that would be required for these kind of profiles? And which of these are entry-level profiles and which are advanced profiles?
Um, that's a tough one to answer, right? Because with the industry and academia, we always face the thing: do we have industry grads? And our answer is always no, we don't. And let's work together. Let's put something together so people can get productive on day one. Your question of can freshers do it? I believe anybody and everybody can do everything. So my answer is not a no. That is to learn. And the fact that you can understand how things integrate, having that ability of the big picture is very, very important. And that's where Howard Gardner had written a book a couple of years back, maybe a decade back, wherein he talks of the minds that are going to be the future, of the
Yeah.
next 2 decades. They're the five, minds, which talks of discipline, synthesizing, creating, respectful and ethical. So I think if people work on that mindset, it's going to be a lot more easy for everybody to get there.
Excellent. Excellent. So Satyan, let me move back to you then. And typically when we talk about an organization such like Microsoft, they keep on releasing their products, and they follow a cycle. I'm sure they are using something similar to what we are discussing about, but they come with so many bugs, etc., right? Initially they go ahead and then you keep on coming with bugs in the beta version and so on and so forth. So how do you measure? What are the matrices that you use to measure your DevOps performance?
Yeah, so DevOps basically, when it started, definitely the scale is the major KPI. So we deployment frequency, right? So how frequently we are deploying our code into production. As you rightly mentioned, right? Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they are deploying. I mean, right now when we are using the Google search, for example, maybe behind the scene they are updating that Google search at the same time, right? So this is happening. When you use Amazon cart, it is getting updated at the same time, right? So real-time deployments are happening. So deployment frequency is one major KPI. Second, I would say the how uh, much time it takes for any code which get committed into the system, the change which is committed into the system, and then it reach to the customer, right? So let's say there is a requirement from business that, okay, for this loan application we want this new policy to be incorporated, right? Now the code change has been done by the developer for that, for example. Now after that, does that code get into the production after 1 week, 2 week, 1 day, 1 month, right? So that is another very major uh, uh, I would say the metrics for measuring that. Then the failure rate, how often the system fail in production, right? Then the velocity of the how fast our developers are delivering the software into the in what quantity, right? Uh, the code coverage from the testing point of view, you talked about the bugs coming into the system, right? So automated testing, how much test the code coverage is testing has completed, right? So that is another major criteria for successful DevOps practices. So these are some very high level. Other than that, you can say that mean time to recover for SRE type of role, that how quickly you can recover from the failure, right? And then mean time to respond, right? That is like when the incident happened into the production and when you came to know about that incident, right? Incident might have happened yesterday, but due to the way our entire system is working, our support team came to know about that incident today. So there is a 1 day gap, right? So that is another measure of how successful is your entire DevOps ecosystem is. Yeah, these are various matrices, Shrikant.
Right. Thanks. So interesting that, though there are all these parameters and agile methodology is being used and software and things, as you rightly said, it's happening real time with Amazon cart, etc., which definitely brings in, the kind of, uh, you know, the people who are behind this. So, Rajita, let me move on to you and ask that how a DevOps engineer is unique if you compare him from a pure development profile vis-a-vis a DevOps profile? You're on mute, Rajita.
Yes, yes. Can you hear me now? So
Hello?
I think one of the biggest, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So one of the biggest differentiators of a DevOps professional is somebody who understands the big picture, somebody who is not necessarily just that mason who's trying to put the brick in the wall and doesn't know what's going to impact where. So I think it's a very regard role from that standpoint, because when you get into all due of SDLC, we do tend to get siloed. And when you're in DevOps, you can't afford to be too siloed, because you can't give your deliverable to that. Then you understand what you're doing is back where. And DevOps also, from that standpoint, obviously I don't want to say that, it's a fact, so it's a good thing to be there. People will say, oh wow, you're doing DevOps kind of thing. But it's more about the type of the pairing that you can do to deliver something really quickly. So if you see,
Rajita, your voice is breaking. Rajita, your voice is breaking.
and you
Can
have
I
to
request you
complete
to
a
switch
lab.
off your
If
video?
you complete just one lab, basically what things you do in this school, it's still not accepted in legacy. Way to go, but if you look at it from a latest product lab technology point,
I think Bangalore airport has bad connectivity, is all I can say. No. So I think we have lost her in between. So since we are talking about SRE,
can I just one thing you asked
yes,
for the
sure.
skills? So just for the benefit of because the students, right, they are eager to learn the
Yes,
new skills and all this. So just few pointers from my side on the skill side, right?
please.
So Rajita very well mentioned about the soft skills, right? That the ethics and honesty and integrity and all this. But from the technical skill perspective, if anyone wants to get into the DevOps area, now DevOps is also evolving a lot due to cloud, machine learning, artificial intelligence. They all need the different type of code movement, right? So
Right.
from the skill perspective, definitely the cloud knowledge of cloud will definitely help our freshers. Uh, Containers, Dockers, Kubernetes, this kind of a knowledge is very important. Python is being used in automation for most of this, across the DevOps. So knowledge of Python is also very important. Test automation tools and techniques, very, very important, because that plays a big role in entire DevOps. And then there is a new role coming up in industry that is called the software development engineers in testing. So basically, we are not just looking for the testers who just do the testing, but we are looking for the developers and tester. So developer with the testing mindset, developers who like to find bugs, developer who like to find the loopholes in the system, right? So that mindset and the skills together. So that is also very well in demand role nowadays because of DevOps. Yeah. Shrikant, you are on
You're on
mute.
mute, sir.
Sorry. Yeah, sometimes it happens. Okay. I didn't realize I was muted. So what I'm saying is, since you spoke about all these things about cloud and everything else that is required, I also wanted to understand from you is that today the landscape of IT is changing so fast. And when we talk about IR 4.0, it's a combination of different technologies coming into play, be it 5G along with the AI, ML, etc., and so on and so forth. So, what does it take to build a DevOps for a large enterprise where many thousands of software um, software test and engineers work?
Yes, it's a good question, Shrikant. So definitely, see, when we want to make a bigger change in the organization, right? As I mentioned, DevOps is a framework and the culture, right? So when we want to change the culture of the organization, it requires a lot of toll all across, right? It's a bigger change management. So not only that, how we build the software, the entire thinking process across the organization need to be changed. So definitely when any large enterprise goes for this kind of a DevOps change management side, they need evangelists who can talk about, uh, first of all, they need to first look into very critically in their existing systems or existing processes and the people, because any organization has three pillars: people, process, and technology, right? Am I having the right processes? Is my developers spending the right time on developing something, or they're spending time in just fighting with operations team, or it's working on my dev machine, it is not working in production, what can I do, right? This kind of a discussion. So that is finding the gaps in all people, process, and technology side. How can we, what are the tools and technology and the best practices available in the industry so that I can bring them, right? Do that kind of a juxtapose of that. Create an evangelist based model where some people can vouch for it, create the buzz, right? Because it's a cultural shift. It doesn't come just one day. Cannot just switch on and off this kind of thing, right? It requires a lot of effort. And the fourth is the technology. Still in the larger organization, people are using old technology. They are building like millions line of code, just one application, right? They haven't break it into the smaller application. So a simple change in that application required this entire 1 million line of code to be rebuilt, right? So all these kind of challenges are still there in the industry. So we need to create that mindset. So I think implementing DevOps in larger organization is the game of mind and the processes rather than the technology. So yeah.
Thanks. Thanks for demystifying that. And just a quick question over here, which is probably, you can say the follow-up question itself, is what are the industry verticals where DevOps can be adopted?
I think almost everywhere. Wherever there is an IT, it's everywhere. However, the flavor of DevOps might be different. So if I understood your question correctly, Shrikant, you're talking about within IT, or it's like
Across domains, BFSI, medical, medtech, where can it be used in all the industry verticals, etc.?
correct. Yes, it can be used across. However, the flavor might be a little different. For example, if it's a simple application development, then it's a one way of pipeline. If it is artificial intelligence kind of a pipeline we have to build, where it requires a little bit of different approach, because the artificial intelligence machine learning works on data. So the input, how the input data is coming, how you are training your models automatically, how you are taking those models into the production, how you are, so all this method a little bit change there from the technology perspective. Then we are talking about the cloud based. So that is a different, if let's say your application is completely on cloud. So some cloud providers like AWS, Google, they provide their own DevOps platform too, right? So instead of reinventing the wheel within the organization, you just outsource completely there, right? So the learning might be different there. But coming to your question, yes, it can be applicable to all the verticals wherever there is IT.
Okay.
In fact, if you're writing a single application, I would encourage all the students here in this call that even if you write a very small application for yourself, implement the DevOps practice in that. Build the CI and CD using Jenkins or some of the other tools, Ansible and other tools available, which is freely available, open source, so that you will get the feel of it, right? So start doing that. Make it a part of your development process.
Right. Interesting. Okay. So, Rajita, hopefully you are there and you can answer this one. talking about, since today DevOps is becoming the order of the day, how should students go about navigating what to learn? Because in the slide that Satyan had also put up, there were so many things over there. So how do you decide and choose what to learn?
I think that's a straight answer, Srikant. They should pick what they're passionate about and what they like. So if I love QA and I love to find bugs in what somebody else has done, that'll be the first area that I will impact or take on for myself. Then, however, if I'm somebody who likes to write lines of code and I like writing some 300, 400, 500 lines of code at one go, I think I should get into that. If somebody likes collaborating, GitHub is a great platform for people to go on, collaborate on something which is available on open source and build their profile that way. There's so many seniors just sitting over there wanting to help people try something new. And the best part of DevOps is it's not old. It's new, in compared to our mainframes or legacy systems. So everybody's going to be, appear in some sense or the other. So I think they should just pick on what they like. There's a huge opportunity to pick up. But while we said that large organizations are doing DevOps, there are small organizations also doing it. My suggestion would be to have basics ready. If I want to get into DevOps, I should at the minimum be an expert in one thing. Either it's QA or it's BA or it's development or it's architecting. One of these, and then I get into DevOps, it'll make my life a lot more easier.
Wonderful, wonderful. So moving to you itself, Rajita, um, the question about SRE, as I said, since it's a fast-growing methodology, how has the role of the DevOps engineer changed, and what will be the skill required for this kind of a role now?
It's interesting you say that, right, Srikant? Just, I think a couple of weeks back, we were having a conversation on, what is SRE, where are we as an organization going to go, and what is a full stack engineer, right? And
Right.
full stack developer. There are so many great conversations happening around this. But if I was to simplify it, and explain from my standpoint what an SRE is, SRE is nothing but which it's a new role that's been created to give you a seamless collaboration between IT ops and development. And essentially, what they're trying to do, if you were to do an either or, the highlight from a different standpoint is essence. SRE is developed with a narrow focus, to create a set of practices and matrices that allow for improved collaboration. And DevOps, on the other hand, is a collection of philosophies, culture, mindset, collaboration, etc. Then the other one is goal. So if you compare SRE and DevOps, both aim to bridge the gap between development and operations. That's the fundamental. But SRE involves perspective ways of achieving reliability, whereas DevOps has a very templatized way of getting that collaboration. So that's the second difference. The third difference is focus. SRE mainly focuses on enhancing system availability and reliability. That's what they do. And DevOps focuses on the speed through and through, be it development, be it delivery, and enforcing that they continuously do that, right? And lastly, the difference I think is the team structure, wherein an SRE team is composed of people who have that background in both operations and development. But DevOps team have so many roles that you have multiple people playing those roles. You don't need one person knowing both. So, like you have QA experts, developers, engineers, SREs, etc. So that is, to me, are the key differences between the two.
Fantastic. Satyan, would you like to add anything from your perspective over here?
Yeah, I think Rajita has very well summarized that. Now, the SRE site reliability engineers, just one thing I would like to add is that due to the patience of our customer, right? When I say our customer, it's IT customer. Like you think about us, right? If we want to go on YouTube and if the videos are not available, YouTube is down for some time, right? We get impatient. Same is the scenario with our customer, be it a financial organization or any other organization. So it is very, very important role, and in fact, there are a lot of books, a lot of research are also happening on this SRE side. how these larger organizations keeping up their systems 24/7 available. So it's a very interesting area to get into. Lot of good work is happening there. Lot of good work is happening.
Excellent. So from the 1600 plus students and other faculty members, etc., who are there on this webinar today, we have been getting questions. So probably here's another call. We have last 10 minutes left with us. So please type in your questions and we will try to answer them. So let's start with the questions from the students. So Irfan is asking, what is the difference between DevOps and DevScops? DEVSECOPS.
Yeah. So sorry. Can I answer that?
Yeah, please go ahead, Satyan.
So when we add the security aspect into the DevOps process, this entire DevOps pipeline, then it is called the DevSecOps. So basically we are scanning our code for any vulnerabilities. We are scanning or finding out, is the code is written in the right way. We are doing the automated security testing, automated penetration testing, right? So all these aspects, when integrated into this entire DevOps pipeline, it is called DevSecOps.
Okay, fantastic. Lakshmi is asking, what are the core operations of DevOps for application development and infrastructure? So probably Satyan, you can take this one too.
Sure. So see, nowadays, like earlier we used to have infrastructure engineer, operation engineers, and this kind of various roles, but it is also evolving. So if I understood the question correctly, we are asking a difference between developers, operations, and infrastructure engineers, correct? So, right. So developers build the software, operations, you can consider transport that software to the various environments and give the uh, overall experience to the end user, and the infrastructure engineers basically build the infrastructure system and maintain that infrastructure system on which this entire process, the software is running, right? So that is the high level difference I can say. However, the operation and infra role is getting merged into SRE nowadays. And slowly the operations and dev is getting merged into the DevOps role nowadays. So slowly we are seeing that this separation is shrinking overall.
And I just wanted to add, the definition of operations is also changing. So while, Satyan explained that there are also companies which have gotten into platform, non-platform BPO, and as part of DevOps, they essentially are eating their own pudding kind of thing. So that's the part of operations also that's being made a part of DevOps. So it's not supposed to be there, but it's getting into that phase now.
Right. So Rishita is asking, what are some of the best tools to learn? Probably Rajita, you could start and then Satyan could supplement.
Yeah, so I wanted to say that the fundamentals need to be very clear. So the tools that I would suggest are more like frameworks that people need to know. That's Scrum, Kanban, and Agile. Agile has multiple ways. There are certification programs. I'm not a big fan of certification, but I'm a big fan of learning. So I would suggest, to get into some of those. I would also suggest to understand a few, on the SRE space with regards to how do commitments work when systems perform. So these are more softer sides of the technicalities that we're talking of, like SLAs, SLOs, and SLIs, that service level indicators. So knowing what you're doing and how it's going to transmit into, the mean time to restore kind of thing are equally important. So that's what I would actually say. Over to you, Satyan.
Yeah. No, well said, Rajita. Yes, I agree. Technology comes and goes, right? But the mindset always wins. Uh, so whatever Rajita said is applicable. On top of it, nowadays the tools which are in fancy for DevOps, definitely Jenkins is one tool which everyone should know about because it has a lot of capability. Jenkins is the kind of a heart of DevOps. Uh, from the cloud perspective, you should all should know about the Dockers. Dockers is basically the containerization of your software, and the
Right.
Kubernetes. How does it work? And then get your hands dirty with that. So apart from that, I think Git and all these people already know. Jira toolset is also uh, gives you the good idea that how this flow work, right? How this pipeline works, all this. So these are some of the tools. From test automation perspective, Selenium, Tosca, UFT, STLM, all these are kind of a tools. Tosca is picking up. It has like nowadays machine learning based, AI based testing tools are available, so you can get into that and think about it. Yeah, so these are some of the tools.
So there's a follow-up thing on that itself where Mahesh is asking what technologies are required to be learned.
Yeah, so when we say technology, two things, right? One is that the mindset aspect which Rajita talked about, right? That is definitely we need to how the things work in bigger picture, how basically various handshake happens, what are the various stakeholders in this of SDLC software development life cycle, how the flow happens, right? And then what are the various tools we have to technology we have to always look that what is the objective of that just for the learning or just for bringing the technology. I would refrain doing that. First, you should understand that what industry problem that technology is solving, right? So I talked about some of the tools which are solving major business problem like Jenkins, test automation tools, and
Right.
all this which we talked about.
Right. Right. And you also mentioned earlier cloud technologies and other
Cloud.
technologies also.
Yeah.
So I think a combination of both these things. The next question I think goes back to you, Satyan. Rishik is asking, can we estimate failure rate?
Uh, yes, we can estimate that. There are some AI based and a lot of algorithms are there based on the past failures. And I am assuming answering this question that we are talking about the production failures, right? How my application basically performed in the production environment, right? Yes, there are AI based, machine learning based prediction models available which predict that, okay, this is my past experience. This is the change which I'm incorporating right now into my system. And now what risk this change is bringing into the entire stability of my system, right? We can predict that. But yeah, I mean, with 100% accuracy, I don't know. But yes, there are prediction available.
Okay. Uh, Rajita, let me move to you with the next question from Sanju, who says, what is the process to learn DevOps? Rajita? Rajita, are you there? Are you able to hear us? Uh, I'm not sure if she can hear us or she can respond back. So, Satyan, probably you'll have to do the heavy weightlifting here too.
Sure. So it's a good question. So for DevOps, first we need to understand the SDLC. What is software development lifecycle? So like peeling the onion, right? First understand the SDLC, then understand that what are the various methods available to deliver the software like Agile, Scrum, Kanban, all this, right? Then understand that today we talked about the DevOps pipeline, right? So understand
Right.
that before getting into the technology. Once you have this understanding, then pick up the tool which appeals you, right? The various aspects that we talked about, test automation, we talked about cloud native technology, we talked about the machine learning ops, we talked about Jenkins deployment. So you pick up the area which interests you, get into that, and then start building on top of it.
Um, there are plenty of other questions, but I think we are already running out of time. So Yeah, Rajita, welcome back. Now, absolutely on time. I'm just asking a quick fire round question. I would like each one of you, and Rajita, I'll go with you first, is 3 words to motivate our students to join your organization in the DevOps team.
All what I would say is that you never step into the same river twice. If you're one such person, Rogers invites you.
Fantastic. Okay, Satyam, over to you. Similar kind of a pitch.
Yeah, we have built it, we have delivered it. We are one of the largest companies, so we know how to maneuver. So come and join us on our boat.
Fantastic. So, dear students, you have open invite from both these organizations, Broadridge as well as from State Street. In case you are interested in that, then definitely, let's see how you can make a career in DevOps over there. Would like to thank the esteemed panelist, Rajita, despite being at the airport, having problems, but was able to convey and probably motivate our students into picking up careers into DevOps. And of course, Satyan, thank you very much. You did most of the heavy lifting over here, but thank you for all your sharing your thoughts with all the students present over here. I'm sure today a lot of questions on DevOps would have been answered by both Rajita and yourself today. Thank you very much for that. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all the students who were there. I hope today all your questions have been answered. In case still you have some questions, please feel free to send them to us, and we would reach out to the experts and come back to you with the answers to those questions. We had over 60 participants in this webinar today, and I would like to thank all the TPOs, the faculty members, the management, and other people from the industry who are there on this webinar today. I'd like to thank tsat, our media partner, for taking it to the homes across Telangana. And as well as I would like to thank HICIA, who have been supporting us by bringing such experts to us. And as I can see, Rajita has also put down so here. So to supplement whatever Sam said, she said the process to learn DevOps is very simple. First, start by learning about culture, learn a programming language, learn how to manage servers, learn network security and networking and security basics, learn scripting, learn how to install, configure middlewares, learn how to deploy softwares, learn JIT, learn how to build software, learn how to automate your software factory, as well as configuration management. And of course, learn infrastructure as the code that Satyam spoke about earlier. So thank you very much, everyone. And I will see you next time on 27th May, where we will be talking about full stack development as the topic of what industries need from freshers. On that note, this is Srikant signing off till we meet again on 27th, same time. Thank you very much. Thanks, Satyan. Thanks, Nijan. Thanks, task team, and the Okta team. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.